Thursday afternoon, I just sat down and I was disappointed. So I was in an apprenticeship over the summer last year. I just got out of a review meeting, and as you might tell from what I just said, it did not go very well. The review meeting basically said that I was underperforming in almost every area that they were expecting, or at least I was not hitting their expectations. So what I did is I took all the information. I then moved on out of the apprenticeship. I took a few minutes, thought about and thought through everything that they just had told me and the information that they had just given me. And one thing you should know about me before I get into this, I'm a deep thinker. I think about a lot of things. And so what you say to me is going to go through, and I will apply it if it means something. And so since 3 superiors of mine, or at least 3 people who were grading me based on this experience, I'll look up to them, and all of their information that they had given me had meant something, because they had done this for years. This is something I was new to, so this information was important. So what I did is, what I would have done probably before coming to VI and through this experience is I probably would have just taken that information. I probably would have thought about it, but I wouldn't have done anything with it. I would have been, wow, what did I just do? This was a terrible experience. I failed at this. And I probably would have just left it there. I would have finished the apprenticeship because I'm not a quitter, but I would not have done it in the best way after receiving all this feedback. But what I did instead is I took that information, I applied it, and then I made my apprenticeship the best it could be based on everything I did. And so what I learned, before that, I went on, I finished my apprenticeship, and my mentor, Tom, he came up to me after it was over, and before the school year had started, he said, "You had good integrity throughout the rest of your apprenticeship, but especially in that meeting. And what I learned is that if you choose your words carefully and wisely, you gain respect not only for yourself, but from other people." So, hello everyone, my name is Langdon Miller, and this is a brief overview of my time at Vertical Immersive. A little bit about me before I get into this is, so as I said, I'm a thinker. I'm great at connecting with people. And so connecting with my class was not a very hard thing for me to do, but I was very quiet. I wasn't very good in group dynamics, but I'm really good with one-on-one. So I would slowly get to know everybody with one-on-one conversations, mostly with LJ, at the beginning, where we would tease each other, play Super Smash Bros. He was better at me most of the time, up until recently, but we were very competitive. And so that's where it all kind of started with meeting my class. And the rest of these stories that I'm about to share with you, these were all just a few of the major experiences that I had here, but they're not all of the defining ones. These are ones where they all highlight something about character growth, because this is what's important to me. This is also not just a learning environment. This is part of the growth that you go through when coming here. And I want to make sure that this is highlighted and expressed through this presentation. So, capstone project. So this was second year, first semester capstone project. So the one we had back in December. This capstone project was in groups. It was a mixture of scalers and climbers. And so part of our group capstone is we did a project for Vertical Life, which if you don't know what that is, it's kind of like the mother company of all the different little vertical companies. And so what we were tasked to do was make a website, but we're overachievers. So we went and decided, yes, we made a fantastic website with multiple pages, all the information you could ask for in a clear way. But then we also wanted to do it a podcast. We also wanted to do brochures. We wanted to make this as expandable as possible and as quickly as possible that we could. But one thing I noticed, I had sat down in a meeting on a Thursday, and I looked around, and I saw that everyone else was kind of worried because this was about 3 weeks left till capstone day. And at the time, I did not have a job. And so one thing that I had that everyone else didn't was time. So I noticed, I looked around the room, I saw that everyone else was pretty worried about what was going on, and so I said, hey, listen, I have some extra time. I know I've got a lot of projects that I'm working on. Let me do at least one or two for you guys so that way I can relieve some of the stress, and that way you can perform the best you can in every area, because that is important to all of us. So by extending that time, I took on two. They were small projects. They were not something that I was super familiar with, but it helped my classmates and my teammates and my partners in this project do the best that they could, and then I also did the best I could, and yes, I asked questions when I needed. By doing that, what I probably would have done before coming to Vertical is, yes, I may have noticed, I would have noticed that the people were stressed, but I would have been selfish with my time. I would have been like, hey, at least I'm not super stressed right now, so at least I'm able to do the projects the best I can. And it was comfortable for me because I already knew what I was doing. It was just in a new place. And so what I learned from this experience was if you pay attention to the people around you, you can notice how to serve them. Now, before I get into this Wayfinders that I did with Chaya, as you mentioned before, this was a huge part of my growth aspect here. So this was a discipleship class that our entire class went through last year. But what we were tasked with to do, since we went through the program, we were in charge of now discipling the new class. And so we were both selected as the new people to disciple us. And we put a lot of effort into this. Now, I want to make that very clear. We put probably, I don't want to say too much effort, but we went very over the top in what we were doing. Way more than what most people would have done, which is why I also believe that we were chosen for this task. Now, it was another Thursday. We had just sat down. It was after one of our Wayfinders class, if not the first Wayfinders class that we were discipling together. Kyle looks up at me and goes, "This is not going to work." So, and I was like, "Yes, I don't think this is going to work either. Tell me more." So then we started talking, and I think about 3 hours later, we finally had a plan of what we were going to do next. So this took a lot of trial and error, but we wanted to bring this to the leadership. And now, so during that 3 hours, we came up with a plan, how to execute it, and some steps that we were going to do to make sure that this would happen. And so we got approval from our leadership that we were able to move forward with the program and make the changes that we wanted to, as well as in the best way that we saw that would grow the climbers and us as disciplers and shepherders in the best way that we could. And so what I probably would have done before coming to VI, yes, I had a great partner, but I would not have put as much effort into it as I did. I would have seen this was not a required class that we had to teach. This was something that I was obligated, I did out of my own obligation. And so I would have seen it as just something extra that I didn't even put as much time into. But part of what she said is there was a greater, more eternal impact that we realized part of the way through. So what I did instead is I worked with Chaya a lot. We made sure that we talked about so many different aspects of how we can word things, what questions to ask, what programs we could possibly use, and then how are we going to leave this behind for the next class who's going to be doing this after us. And so what I learned is that change requires action. This was not going to work if we did not take steps towards actually doing it ourselves. And this is another Wayfinders story, but this one is more towards the people rather than the program. And so this was actually on a Monday, surprisingly not a Thursday. We were discussing what it would look like for us to make this, how can we connect with the climbers themselves? That way, this creates a better, more communal aspect of Wayfinders. And so, one thing is we asked Tom. Tom, he's a mentor of mine. He's pretty much a mentor to everyone in our class. I'm just gonna get that out. Tom's spoken a lot of life into everybody here, but he was a very obvious choice for us to go to. And so we went to Tom and we were like, Tom, hey, we want to be able to connect with the climbers on a deeper level, personally, but more importantly, in a spiritual way. And so we went to Tom and he goes, how do you guys ask questions? We were both like, how, what? What do you mean, how do we ask questions? You mean there's questions to questions? And then he's like, oh yeah, there's questions to questions to questions to questions. And so Tom was like, start with what you want them to take away. What's one thing that you have 2 hours with them, if they forget everything, what's the one thing you want them to take away from this? Start there. And then walk through the questions and the steps that you want them to take to get to that spot. And so we were like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So, yes, it was not easy asking that many questions and wording them in ways that would help guide them towards that specific destination was not very easy. But what we did is we took probably another 3 hours, and after that, it had another meeting about how we were going to make these questions guide them toward a specific thing we wanted them to take away. And so what I probably would have done before this is, yes, I would have taken Tom's input, but I would not, again, have put as much effort into asking those questions as I would have beforehand. I probably would not have asked as many questions, and I would not have been as prepared to ask those questions as well, because I did not have the right people around me. So what we did is we took the time we needed to. We put a lot of thought into how we were going to word things, and then we also made it very intentional with the specific thing we wanted them to take away. And what we learned from that is, if you give them something to hold on to, you can leave a lasting impact for the rest of their life. Now, just some memorable moments we had. As you can see from reaction, the banana costumes and the monkey, he's in the gorilla. I'm in the sunglasses, and well, I'm in the big sunglasses there with the little tongue, and then Kaya's in the other one. We like to have a lot of fun. We look very professional now, but we are all six. There's a lot more behind the scenes you guys haven't figured out yet. And so these are just some more individual pictures of everybody. And the people you surround yourself with are very important. There's a quote where people say, if you're hanging around 5 fools, you miscount because you're the 6th. Well, I like to say I'm hanging around 6 hooligans, but I was told I miscounted. And so these are, obviously you can tell by their reactions, we have a lot of fun together. We connected way too easily as a whole group. I know I said individually, but we just, for some reason, within the first semester, we were all almost like best friends. And so they've been a huge part of making this experience what it is. And so quick thank yous to everybody, to obviously parents and then siblings who are out of state right now, but thank you for raising me and putting me in the household and living where we did, because then that shaped me to where we moved on to now. And then also to classmates for just being the best people to be around all the time, whether it was spiking LJ in Super Smash Bros.
It was always.
Or having long walks with Kai and Victoria, or talking to Shiloh. This guy's a sponge of knowledge. So he will tell you about bees in Africa for an hour. And,
Hold on.
and you wonder how he just knows everything. And then Sophia is much a joy to be around. She always likes to have fun. And then Noah, we like to call him our comedian. He's great at one-liners or just ripping jokes like out of the blue, and it just lightens the whole mood. So thank you to everyone, and then to staff as well, for creating the environment, facilitating it in a way that pushed us to help us figure it out, because that's the best way that we all learned. So I have a few minutes for questions. So who would like to ask the first one? Yes, Mr. Lance.
So you say you're a deep thinker.
Yes, sir.
World is pushing a lot of stuff at us. We certainly saw that in my class. We're told one thing, but there's always a hidden agenda.
Mm-hmm.
What did you take away from how to filter information coming at you to find out what you're really being told?
First, you got to be able to know who or where the information is coming from. To not always take that information at face value, and be willing to think about both sides of the equation, the one you're hearing, but then also think about the other side that you're not hearing that's against it, and then do a little bit of research on your own to come to your own conclusion based off of how you perceive both of those. And then obviously back it up with scripture, because that's the foundation for how we do all of this. And if it goes against that, then it's wrong. So yes, Asher, and then I got you, Mr. Husky.
Mine's a two-parter. So
Okay.
you mentioned an internship. That was your hook.
Correct.
What was the internship, and what would you say your biggest takeaway from it is?
The apprenticeship was for graphic design, or just design in general. I did some social media. I did some brand building, and other behind the scenes identity things. And so the biggest thing I gleaned from that, do you mean as far as career or?
Something that you want to carry forward.
It would probably go back to that story of knowing when to speak and choosing the what kinds of words you say to people around you, because a job is a job and there's always something to learn. But if you break trust with people in that, it's a lot harder to rebuild that trust, for one, but then it also people don't trust you as much in the job you're doing. So make sure that the people you're around understand who you are and with the words you choose to speak to them. All right, and then Aaron in the back.
Yeah, what's one revelation that you have about Jesus now you didn't have before you started?
Before I experienced Jesus in more moments or smaller periods of time, to whether like one thing I did a lot of production for church. I've got a lot of experience in the audio side of things, and I like music. So specifically when I would do that, I would feel Jesus there, because I was serving God with my talents, and then I was also serving the community, helping them praise Him. So that was the example of a moment. Or it'd be other times where I wouldn't necessarily be thinking about God, or for my first reaction wouldn't be to pray to God at the time, but there were specific times, good or bad, that it was just like, yes, this is very clearly God. But now God is more, I'm more aware of everything God's doing and the reasons why He's putting things into place at the times that they are. At least that's the best that He's allowing me to see, at least. So I'm more aware of everything He's doing, and actually how good He really is. Yes, I got LJ. You got a question?
It's not necessarily for you, but I want to hear from the climbers who taught with Chaya, and I want to know how they, Andy, Aaliyah, Sawyer back there, I want to know how you guys saw Langdon and Chaya pushing into you guys and speaking into you guys.
I definitely saw Tom through some of them for sure. Ask him like what we meant by certain things, and we'd actually have to explain our answer and actually have to think about it. So I was definitely pushed through a lot of their questions, and I really appreciate it.
I think my perspective of the two of them changed over the first semester, especially. Starting out, it really felt like they had it all figured out. once I got to know them better and I realized how they're figuring this out as they go, it gave me a lot more confidence going forward that I'm able to be a disciple and disciple others, even if I don't have the answers already.
During Wayfinders our first semester, they could tell that it was really clicking with us, and so they did whatever they could to do and apply different things for us. They talked to Tom a lot. They spent so many hours just figuring out what is the best solution for us, and just showed a lot of growth in it.
For you, that shows how much work you guys did.
Thank you. And then Jen, you'll be my last question here.
I would say, I think one of your strengths as a designer is you ask a lot of questions. You did that in my class. You were always asking really good questions. And I see that, again, like in that apprenticeship, a lot of times in the form of like, well, here's a graphic element I have. How can I use this? And you were good at looking at things and not being trapped in the box of like how something had already been used. So just curious, you're a very creative, artistic person. Are you going to continue to, how will you continue to use your creativity and that like natural ability to kind of see things and use them in a different way?
It's a great question. As far as my ability to ask questions, that's never going to leave. But as far as my creative talents, I'm not sure how I might not necessarily use it in a job. I may not. Because my brain's also very analytical. I'm a really weird individual. I'm good at creativity, but I'm also really good at analyzing and finding patterns and things. So using my creativity, but it's more the identification of how to do something different is what I'm going to carry more through my apprenticeships, jobs, future relationships, how I operate. As far as creativity goes, that I might turn more into a hobby rather than a career. I might make it my career. I'm still kind of figuring that out right now, but I'm definitely going to take away the ability to see things in a new light that most people overlook. So one final thought, as I kind of said before, this is all related to the character growth we've had here. So my last thing is I want you to take away, commit to who you are so that your character becomes your asset. Because you're constantly being interviewed, and yes, you can go, people can see you, but who you are is the most important thing that you can be. So thank you, everybody.